Drive through any town in America, and you'll pass at least one business that looks like it hasn't been updated since 1998. Faded sign, cracked parking lot, a building that looks like it's barely holding itself together. You've probably driven past it 100 times without a second thought. And there's a real chance the person who owns it is the richest person in your entire town. Not the guy in the new truck, not the family with the biggest house on the lake. The person behind that ugly, forgettable building nobody looks at twice. Before we get into why, a quick introduction for anyone new here. I'm Jasmine. I hold a degree in business strategy and transformation, and for the past 7 years, I've studied how everyday people quietly build serious wealth doing things that don't look like wealth from the outside. And one pattern keeps showing up so consistently across small towns and mid-sized cities that I stopped being surprised by it years ago. The businesses that generate the most money almost never look like it. In fact, the uglier the building, the more likely the owner is sitting on real money. Let's start with why that's true, because it's not a coincidence, and it's definitely not luck. Reason 1. Ugly businesses don't spend money on looking good, so more of it stays in the owner's pocket. A sleek coffee shop with reclaimed wood interiors and a custom logo spent real money becoming Instagram-worthy. A metal recycling yard with a rusted fence and a hand-painted sign spent that same money on equipment, trucks, and inventory instead. Every dollar not spent chasing appearance is a dollar that either goes back into the business or straight into the owner's pocket. And over 20 or 30 years, that difference compounds into a completely different financial outcome. Reason 2. Ugly businesses scare off competition before it even shows up. Nobody graduates from business school dreaming of running a scrap metal yard, a septic service, or a bail bonds office next to the courthouse. The businesses that look unpleasant on the outside are naturally protected from the flood of new competitors that constantly pours into anything that looks appealing, like coffee shops, boutiques, and gyms. Less competition means the existing owner can charge more, work less to defend market share, and quietly keep winning. Reason 3. Ugly businesses are usually solving a problem people can't ignore. A junkyard exists because cars break down completely and need to go somewhere. A rundown auto salvage lot exists because parts cost too much new. A dingy check-cashing storefront exists because some people can't get approved for a traditional bank account. Nobody's chasing these customers for fun. They're serving a need that doesn't disappear, no matter how the economy looks that year, and constant need is worth more over time than fashionable appeal. Let's get into the numbers, because without data, this is just a theory. According to data compiled by IBISWorld across small business categories in the United States, industries like scrap metal recycling, junk removal, and waste management consistently rank among the highest profit margin categories, often outperforming retail, food service, and hospitality by a wide margin. Meanwhile, Bureau of Labor Statistics data shows that food service and retail, industries most associated with an appealing storefront, have some of the highest failure rates of any sector, partly because so much capital gets spent on appearance instead of operations. Put those two facts side by side, and the pattern becomes obvious. The industries people assume are unattractive to run are frequently the most profitable, and the industries people assume look impressive are frequently the least reliable. Now let's walk through the specific types of ugly businesses that quietly make their owners the wealthiest people in almost any town. Scrap metal and recycling yards. Ugly by design, loud, dusty, surrounded by chain-link fence, and almost universally profitable because metal prices rarely stay down for long, and the barrier to entry, both in permits and equipment, is high enough to keep most competitors out. Auto salvage and junkyards. Every town has one, usually tucked away where nobody has to look at it, and it turns wrecked cars other people see as garbage into a steady stream of resold parts, scrap value, and towing fees. Self-storage facilities. Rows of identical metal doors that nobody would call beautiful, generating rent every single month from units that require almost no ongoing maintenance once they're built. Truck stops and fuel depots. Not the kind of place anyone takes a photo of, but a location that moves enormous volume in fuel, food, and services to a captive audience of drivers who have no other option nearby. Industrial laundry and linen services. Big, loud, unglamorous buildings that supply clean linens to every hotel and restaurant in the region, under contracts that renew almost automatically year after year. Waste management and dumpster services. The building looks like exactly what it is, a lot full of containers, but it's one of the few businesses that gets paid whether the economy is booming or shrinking. Because trash never stops being generated. Pawn shops. Bars on the windows, faded signage, and a reputation most people don't want attached to their name. Sitting on inventory that was bought at a steep discount and resold at a healthy markup, with a lending business built in on top of it that collects interest whether or not the item ever gets reclaimed. Bail bonds offices. Almost always ugly, almost always right next to a courthouse, and almost always profitable, because it's one of the very few businesses in America where demand is essentially guaranteed and completely disconnected from the health of the economy. Check cashing and payday loan storefronts. Not a business anyone's proud to put on a business card, but one that serves an enormous, underserved population and charges accordingly, generating margins most traditional retail businesses would envy. Now, I want to pause here and say something clearly, because I don't want this video to sound like I'm telling you to go run a payday loan business tomorrow. Some of these categories come with real ethical questions worth thinking through carefully. And part of what makes a boring or ugly business actually build lasting wealth is choosing one you can operate with a clear conscience over 30 years, not just the one with the highest margin on paper. The principle matters more than the specific example. Ugly businesses solving real, unavoidable needs tend to make more money than pretty businesses solving optional wants. That principle applies far beyond the specific list I just gave you. Storage, pest control, septic service, commercial cleaning, equipment rental, none of them photograph well. All of them quietly make people wealthy. 3 mistakes people make when they finally understand this pattern. Mistake 1. Chasing the ugliest business they can find, without checking if it fits their actual skills or interests. Ugly doesn't automatically mean profitable for you specifically. The person running a successful scrapyard usually understands metal pricing, logistics, and negotiation deeply, not just the fact that scrapyards happen to make money. Mistake 2. Assuming ugly means easy. Many of these businesses involve navigating heavy regulation, environmental permits, difficult customers, or physical risk that a sleek coffee shop simply doesn't have to deal with. The reward exists because the difficulty keeps most people out, not because there isn't any difficulty at all. Mistake 3. Trying to make an inherently ugly business look pretty, spending money on rebrands, signage, or aesthetics that customers in that category never actually cared about in the first place. That money would almost always generate a better return reinvested into equipment, staff, or expanding service capacity instead. Which category fits you? If you're drawn to logistics and efficiency, waste management, recycling, or self-storage, let you build systems around moving materials and information rather than constantly managing people. If you're comfortable with high stakes, high trust relationships, bail bonds or lending adjacent businesses require real judgment about risk, but reward that judgment heavily. If you'd rather build something steady and predictable with lower complexity, industrial laundry or commercial waste contracts offer recurring revenue without much drama once the initial contracts are signed. Chris owns a boutique fitness studio downtown, the kind of place with a beautifully designed logo, a bright modern interior, and a strong Instagram following. Everyone in town knows the name. It's the kind of business people point to when they talk about who's doing well locally. For years, it looked like Chris had built something impressive, and in a lot of ways, he had. Frank owns the scrap metal yard on the edge of town, past the train tracks, behind a chain-link fence most people have never driven past on purpose. Nobody points to Frank's business as an example of local success. Most people in town couldn't even tell you his last name. But Frank has owned 3 commercial properties outright for over a decade, employs 12 people, and has never once had to advertise to keep his yard full of material. Chris, despite the packed classes and the loyal following, has spent the last 6 years barely breaking even after rent, marketing, and equipment costs, constantly reinvesting profit just to keep the studio looking fresh enough to compete with the next new fitness concept that opens across town. The difference between Chris and Frank was never work ethic. Both of them work extremely hard, and it wasn't luck either. The difference was that Frank built a business around a need that doesn't go away and doesn't require constant reinvention, while Chris built a business in a category where looking good is the entire competitive battlefield, one that never stops requiring new investment just to stay in the game. If you made it this far, think about your own town for a second. Which building fits this pattern? The one everyone drives past without noticing, that might actually belong to the richest person you've never thought about. Tell me in the comments, If this video changed how you look at the businesses in your own town, hit like so it reaches more people, and subscribe for more videos like this every week. I'm Jasmine, and I'll see you in the next one.